Okay, hold on. I'm so sorry. Hold on. No. I'm sorry. You are de facto and completely out of your mind if you think that declassification is something that is psychically willed by the president. That is just not true. Do you sincerely believe that? Do you really believe that?
Let's forget about it happening in 2020. Okay, let's say this happened in 2013 or in 2018. Forget about it being that he's no longer president, is president. Imagine a president, and imagine Joe Biden did it last week. Took a document that is a classified document and then went off and started reading it in the bathroom of a Hyatt. Okay, completely unsecured, and he decides, you know what, I'm going to leave these papers here. Do you genuinely believe that he has committed a crime by that action? He's like, yeah, I know this is really top secret stuff, and I'm leaving it here intentionally. Do you believe that President Biden committed a crime when he did that? Because I will respectfully tell you that it is crazy to think that he has committed a crime.
Why? That would, of course, be a crime, yes.
Whereas any other person, you, me, or anyone else who might have had access to have that record and had permission to have that record for you or I to do it, it certainly would be a crime and we should be prosecuted. And the difference is that is the unique distinction of the chief executive. That's where we're coming into this key thing that you and I are having this disconnect. That the chief executive literally has a power to declassify by blinking his eyes.
Okay, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I'm just gonna say you've conceded on point 2 on everything because you keep moving to point 1. So let's move to point 1. So on point 2, what Trump is being accused of doing here is unique compared to Biden or Pence or any other past person that you brought up. I'm going to assume that you're just conceding that completely because you're not differentiating this at all. So we can move to point number 1 now. So you said as president, he's the chief of the executive branch and he can declassify things whenever he wants at the blink of an eye, okay? I don't even think that you believe that, but let's say that we both believe that, okay? I would argue that if that's true,
Obama wrote that.
That's
Obama
fine.
Created
that's fine.
That executive
that's fine.
Order.
Sure, that's fine. Let's say that is the case, okay? The reason why this argument is ridiculous is because if that is the case, isn't this argument instantaneously self-defeating? Because if you're saying that Trump can declassify things psychologically, okay, he can psychically declassify a document, couldn't Biden have reclassified them without saying anything as soon as he left office? And as soon as
declassification is much easier than reclassification. It's much legally under the law. If you read the statutes as to how something gets classified versus getting declassified, and there's good logic for this. There's good sense as to why that would be, that it's much easier to declassify something than it is to reclassify it. Because when you reclassify something, which he does have the power, Biden does, as president, has the power to classify whatever the hell he wants, but when he reclassifies it, that now, those documents take on a magic status now where anyone who's doing something failing to uphold the high classification status is now committing a crime. So a president cannot just blink his eyes and make something classified because he has to pass that knowledge down through the chains of command so that anyone who might be affected by that classification and put under a new obligation has to be aware of that obligation so they know, oh my God, I can't leave this around. I'll be thrown in jail if I leave this around because this just became classified 10 minutes ago when Biden issued this new order. But if he declassifies it and it ends up being stored too securely, because it doesn't need to be stored securely anymore because it's not actually classified. There are probably millions of documents that have been declassified that people still think are classified. They just weren't informed. There's no risk associated with that. And that's why the process for declassification is much easier than it is for reclass.
So you don't think so? A president can't point at something and say that's now classified?
Correct. He cannot. He can't.
Doesn't classification exist at the? Hold on, you have to let me ask questions. Okay, does classification not exist literally at the privilege of the president?
It does.
So why? So you're telling me that the president of the United States, the chief of the executive branch. Hold on, wait. I want you to answer this very clearly, and then I need you to point me to something that says this. Okay, the president can't point at something and go, "That's now top secret classification." You're saying the president of the United States can't do that?
No, of course he can't. You don't think that he can? Do you think that he can make the deed on your house classified? If he was so inclined? You think he can make your tax records classified? You think that he could make the starting lineup for today's football game Classified?
Are you
No.
saying that? Wait.
No.
Are you saying that if the president tried to classify it, somebody would say no, Who tells the president you're not allowed to classify that?
What I'm saying is, first of all, it has
No.
to be
Answer that question.
something
Answer the question. Who tells the president no, you're not allowed to classify that?
It's not, you don't have to tell him. It's just ineffective, and that's someone who fails to obey the classification status.
No one is talking about what it's effect. No one is talking about if it's effective or not. I'm asking you with the president. Let's say the president says Stephen Bunnell's title for his house. That's classified information now. Who says, sorry, president, you can't classify that information?
What are the ramifications of him saying it?
I'm not asking about the ramifications. You don't care because you're saying the president can psychologically declassify whatever he wants. So you don't care about the ramifications. We're way past that. I'm just asking you who tells the president no. I'm asking you who tells the president no, Mr. President, you can't classify the deed to Stephen Bunnell's house. Who says that?
Stephen, the ramifications are all that matters in a classification or a declassification. If there are no ramifications, then no one cares whether something is classified or declassified. The only thing that matters are the ramifications.
We're talking about the process here. The process of classifying or declassifying. I'm asking you, again, for the 5th time, who tells the president, no, you cannot classify something?
Any court that fails to uphold his classification is telling him that.
Oh, so then if Trump loses in court, are you going to admit then that he was wrong? If we're just going by what the court determines?
No. What I said, when you asking me who's telling him that it fails to classify, and what I'll tell you is the only way how does anyone know if the classification actually worked or didn't work? The only way we would know if it worked or didn't work is if he tries to punish someone for failing to honor the classification, and then a court says, this president properly classified it, and you failed to honor it. That's at that point we would know the classification actually took hold and actually worked. Otherwise it's just words. Otherwise the word classified or declassified is literally just words. It's only when it has the force of law behind it that it actually has any sort of meaning. So you're saying to me, who tells the president that he didn't declassify? I mean, it's not a matter that there's some sergeant at arms or some big hulking guy with huge guns, which is basically sitting there flexing his muscles saying, sorry, Joe, that one didn't work. No, it's a matter as to whether or not a person is obligated under the law to respect that classification. So if he went out there and he said, like I said, imagine he said that last year's Super Bowl winner is classified information. Like, how silly is that? How silly is that? So now you can't talk about who
you can't. I'm sorry, but like you forfeited the ground of
it.
using how silly is that as an argument when you say that a president that's on record saying this is classified, I could have declassified it, but I didn't, somehow can psychically declassify every single thing he happens to steal from the White House with him. Which, by the way, the president doesn't have the exclusive authority to declassify any documents that he wants, and I'm pretty sure he even had documents, I believe from the Department of Energy, that he cannot unilaterally declassify, even if he went through the normal channels of doing it.
That's the 1 in 10,000 is things from the Department of Energy.
Well, he had it, unfortunately. But regardless, you can't use the... No, okay, hold on, stop. Okay, hold on, I'm sorry. This rambling is so silly. I can't believe these arguments. I can't believe you're making these sincerely. First of all, original classification authority literally rests with the President of the United States, okay? The President, the Vice President, the Secretary of Defense, anybody who's, I think, a Secretary of the Military Department, DOD? I think I have to say right. These people, this is where classification comes from. My understanding is the president wants to classify anything. He can classify whatever the fuck he wants. He's the president of the United States, and classification exists under the authority of the president. Number one. Now, number two, when you say, well, effectively, how would that work? Well, that's a good question. There's probably an actual process to classify material. I'm sure that there are departments that go over how damaging could it be, blah, 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 blah. There is a whole process. There is a process to declassify material where you submit something. Really?
Yes, that's the big difference.
Okay, hold on. I'm so sorry. Hold on. No. I'm sorry. You are de facto and completely out of your mind if you think that declassification is something that is psychically willed by the president. That is just not true. Do you sincerely believe that? Do you really believe that?
Find any lawyer who can tell you what exactly.
How many lawyers? How many military, ex-military? How many? I can bring you 20 of them. If you want me to go through my email, and I will bring you person after person after person. Say, declassification. Here are all of the steps that we take. If you really want to set that straight, I would love to do it. You're going to tell me. No. Even the president, when you go to declassify material, there's a whole process for declassification. Why do you think FOIA requests take so long? There's a whole process for how that works. You're telling me that the normal process for declassification is the president points at something and it becomes declassified?
And for no other human is that true.
For what?
That's true for only the President of the United States and for no other human. Maybe the Vice President because of the EO that was signed by Obama, which was kind of a crazy EO. But one of the EOs he signed, I think it was EO, I'm off the top of my head, I haven't looked at this EO in the 9 months since when this thing first was filed, but I think it was EO 19309. But you can just look up Obama classification EO and you'll find it in 20 seconds. Where he spells out exactly how it works with respect to who has authority to classify or declassify. And if you're someone who works under the president, in that case, yeah, when you're classifying something, there's all sorts of steps and procedures. And even when the president is classifying something, there's all sorts of steps and procedures. If someone working under the president declassifies something, that has all sorts of steps and procedures. That is definitely true. I agree with you. But there is nobody who actually, because this is not something that has come up or has been decided really by a court of law, which has had to analyze as to what does a president need to do to declassify something. And I'll tell you, this is what I'll tell you one thing, Stephen. I don't make up arguments to the point of winning. I don't like winning arguments for the sake of winning arguments. I never argue disingenuously. If I'm telling you something, it's because I believe it in my heart of hearts. And if I'm not sure, I will say, on this thing, I'm not sure. And I do that frequently. So I appreciate it if several times you've accused me of putting forward some argument that you think I don't believe.
You don't, because you don't believe that this is so on its face ridiculous that you think the president of the United States can walk out of the White House after his term is up with a box of who knows what, and everything in there that he doesn't even know about becomes magically declassified. That is one of the most on its face absurd statements I have ever heard in my life. Nobody could genuinely believe something that silly.
Why? Well, hold on a second. So I'll ask you this. First of all, he has to do it while he's still president.
Which he didn't.
Do it after. No, well, if he did it the day before, if he did it 10 seconds before Biden's sworn in, he's still president.
Yeah, but he didn't do that, did he?
Yeah, it was not. Yes, he did. Nothing was shipped out afterwards.
Wait, hold on. If he did do that, then when the FBI requested the documents, why didn't he just say, "Oh, I've declassified all these"? Why did he have his lawyer hide them around his house?
Here's the key. I'll tell you what happened.
No, I need you to answer that question.
I am answering that. Because they said we don't care.
I need you to answer that question. Okay, like very specifically. Okay, let's see. All right.
I'm answering.
Okay.
I'm answering because this is the area that they actually could get him on this case. The one area that they can get him on this case is that they asked him for documents that are marked classified, whether or not they are still classified. Meaning, even if you declassify it, if it's got that stamp of signature on it that says classified, these are the documents that we are demanding you give to us. That is the area that Trump has his biggest exposure of liability. Because it does seem, based on the facts that were presented.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I don't care about any of this. This can be your next point. I'm going to re-ask my question because you're not answering it. When they asked Donald Trump, hey, give us this classified material back, why didn't he say, hey guys, I declassified everything as I left the White House. We're good. Why didn't he just say that?
I don't know. Why would he have to say that?
To let them know that he doesn't have classified material? To say that he was the president? Don't you think it's kind of weird that instead of saying that, he said, oh, sure, and then told people in Mar-a-Lago to hide the boxes? You don't think that shows a criminal state of mind? Like maybe he's not supposed to, if he's supposed to have it and he believes that he was supposed to have it, why would he hide the material around Mar-a-Lago?
You think he was hiding it in the bathroom? That's what he was doing there?
I'm sorry, what isn't part of the indictment that he ordered people working for him to lie to the FBI and move the documents around?
Do you know what an indictment is? An indictment is a list of charges from one side.
No, stop. I asked you prima facie if a crime had been broken, if the indictment is true. If you want to argue that what's in the indictment is false, then we're in a totally different world. I'm asking you prima facie if what's in the indictment is true, is a law been broken? Is there criminal activity? So if you want to argue with the facts of the indictment, that's fair because like we both agree, it's just an indictment. They have to prove it in court, maybe they can't.
Mm-hmm.
So assuming what's written in the document, if he was telling people to hide documents around the house, he didn't tell the FBI, oh, I declassified all of these. He never said that ever.